and Dr. Asaf Nanda for giving me this opportunity to speak on OCT, the normal retinal anatomy. The hats up to the development of OCT, the technology which has changed for the last 2 or 3 decades. The introduction of OCT has really changed a lot of uh, uh, things in the diagnosis. Actually, the subtle changes in the disease process we are able to diagnose not only in the field of ophthalmology. It has actually wide range of application in even cardiothoracic or the vascular system, and even GI system, everywhere. Actually, it has changed a lot in the diagnosis and picking up the subtle changes. It's a very good tool, and in fact, prior just Dr. Sasmita and Dr. Aswathananda, they said so many changes that we are now picking up in the what we are not able to pick up clinically or with the so many equipments which are available prior to that. The OCT has actually really changed a lot of revolution in the field of ophthalmology. So coming to the retinal changes, so it's before discussing what the changes in the retina will get, let me just tell, or we'll just discuss we'll put a glimpse on what is the retinal anatomy, normal anatomy. This is the cartoon. This is the pictorial depiction of. It's a nice picture. Is given the background. We are seeing OCT, the picture, the layers of the OCT, and nicely designed the cellular this one connections of the retina as well as the layers which are written here. So without inverts, what we'll see retinal pigment epithelium. This is the bright zone which is corresponding to the retinal pigment epithelium, and after that, the photoreceptor which are adjoining the RP, the photoreceptor layer, and external membrane, the cellular layer which is outer nuclear layer, outer plexiform which is connected to the inner nuclear layer, bipolar cell layer, and the plexiform, inner plexiform layer, ganglion cells, retinal nerve fibers, and internal membrane. So this is the normal anatomy. So now with the OCT, we are able to see the particular cellular level changes. This is very amazing. So this is in 2014, the panel of experts, they have clarified regarding the outer retinal layers, which are earlier to that. We were speaking about the 3 outer layers, that is external limiting membrane and the photoreceptor layer and the retinal pigment epithelium. But this panel, experts of panels, they have actually clarified the photoreceptor layer is actually 2 practically. The outer one, the photoreceptor layer, which is called the interdigitation zone, or the zone of or the layer of Verhoeven, or the cost, we can tell, cone outer segment tips, and the in the internal to that, that is the ISOS junction, it is called. This is the 4 layers which are earlier we used to tell it as 3 layers with the status OCT and all. And the basic principle in the OCT imaging of the diagnosis, what is, we read out the OCT by looking into the scan, whether it is weakly reflective or highly reflective. Usually the cellular layers, they are weakly reflective. They appear as dark zones, and the highly reflective layer which appears as bright zones. So what is normal OCT? Normal OCT look like this. This is a bell-shaped, actually centrally bell-shaped, which is corresponding to the umbo, or the central pit of the fovea, which is here it is, and around 60 to 80% cases we may see sometimes the foveal bulge. This is also normal, and sometimes the vascular. This mostly you will see the vessels which are there in the inner nuclear layer and the nerve fiber layer, they cast the shadow. This is the shadow which is casting. This is the normal vascular. So normal OCT scan, and this is any abnormality in the OCT normal. We will find so much, suppose bulge, there will be increase in thickness or the cystic deformation, whatever it is, the changes we will see, that is abnormal. So let's discuss by layer. The vitreous, normally we see vitreous is clear, crystal clear, because of around 98% of its water content. Because of the water content, it appears black. So any opacity in the vitreous which is picked by the OCT, or that appears as white reflective dots. I will be showing these reflective dots. For example, astrodialysis, it is there. So many dots we are seeing astrodialysis, they appear as in the vitreous, there will be homogeneously reflective dots you will see in the OCT, vitreous cavity. Suppose inflammatory cells will be looking like this. Sometimes the membranes will also be seen, but this is a normal posterior detachment. And in fact, the hemorrhage, suppose it's preretinal or the vitreous hemorrhage, which casts a shadow in the retina with a hyperreflective zone or hyperreflective layer sort of thing. And the posterior vitreous cortex, they appear. Suppose if the PVD is complete or no PVD, then you will find you see like this. But something like here, it is incomplete PVD. That means somewhere it is attached at the perifoveal region. Okay. And here also it's incomplete PVD. And vitreomacular interface, as I said, macular interface, that means sometimes you will find this is a normal, it looks a normal, and I think it's a change is there, or usually patients come with a very good vision. There is an incomplete PVD, but there is a perifoveal attachment of the vitreous here. So around a 3 millimeter zone of attachment will be there, the vitreous will be attached without any change in the foveal architecture. That is vitreomacular adhesion, it is called. Normally, you won't find any problem. There is a OCT diagnostic entity. Usually the patients, they don't come with any metamorphopsia or any problem, but here it is traction. Suppose this is called vitreomacular traction. That means there will be some change with the traction at the fovea. There will be disorganization, or the layers will be deranged. So there will be pull in the foveal zone. So this is vitreomacular traction, and this is ERM. You can see a hyperreflective layer which is there here, and it's just tinting the fovea or deform the normal foveal pit. This is called ERM. And this is sometimes you will see in high myopic eyes, pathological myopia, you may find that the split in the nerve fiber layer, that is called macular schisis. You will see schisis cavities will be there. Here in macular hole, even macular holes, although gases, Donald Gass has classified macular holes prominently, and we are following till now. But OCT, after the OCT came into the picture, we are actually classifying based on the OCT. This is the spontaneous separation. The grade, suppose it's a early macular hole, stage 0. We call it as stage 0 because there will be a vitreomacular adhesion here, attachment here. There are some changes, subtle changes you will find. There will be a deformation of the foveal, inner foveal contour will be changed. So this is grade 0, and grade 1, here it is grade 1. Some cystic changes will be there. Cystic changes will be there here with the vitreomacular vitreofoveal attachment. So this is called clinically we call it we see it as yellow spot like thing, and because of the cyst in the fovea, and when the neurosensory detachment occurs, a ring sort of detachment occurs here clinically, then we'll see a yellow ring. Then stage 2, eccentric holes will be there with a some flap of attachment, or it looks like a tear sort of thing, flap tear sort of thing, very subtle, that is less than 200 micron size. This is stage 2. And stage 3, more than 200 size hole, full thickness macular hole will be there, and the vitreous may usually remains at somewhere incomplete PVD there. If it's complete PVD, then it's called grade 4. So what is abnormal? So abnormal structure in the OCT, change in the reflectivity maybe, or increase in thickness, or decrease in thickness, or loss of thickness, or abnormal deposits. We'll read like this. So characteristics of reflectivity is either it may be hyperreflectivity or hyperreflectivity. Hyperreflectivity, we'll see somewhere the cystic spaces will be there. Fluid accumulation, whether diffuse or cystic, you will find this hyperreflectivity, where it appears as a dark zone. Here it is hyperreflectivity. You are seeing so many hyperreflective structures here. They are all hyperreflective. They appear as bright. So reflectivity, based on the reflectivity, and transmission. Transmission defects, like suppose it's decreased transmission, like the light, it's actually some barrier is obstructing the transmission of light into the retina. So this is, for example, a blood may be there, some exudates may be there. They are blocking the pathway to light reaching the retina. This is decreased transmission. And increased transmission, for example, macular hole is there, so light nothing tissue is there here directly, that is scanning the choroid here, underlying the choroid, the RP. So this is here you will find the hyperreflective, increased transmission. Evaluate foveal, how to evaluate foveal profile. So normal foveal profile is a slight depression in the surface of the retina, described as a smooth inverted bell curve. This is a, and abnormally the contour is altered. So cortical within the between cortical vitreous and the NFL nerve fiber layer, usually this is normal, and here you will find a, suppose ERM is there, then it appears as like this, and that is called ectopic inner foveal layer, that's EFIL. That means the foveal contour is little bit of changed. This is, and nerve fiber layer, sometimes you will find a, normally you will find the thickness, thickened nerve fiber layer there towards the disc, nasal, towards the side of the nasal, the retinal nerve fiber is thickened here normally. But there will be a loss sometimes. What Susmita was telling, even nowadays, OCT is defining whether there is a really quantifiable amount of nerve fiber thickness is lost or not, or ganglions and loss is also nowadays we are detecting that. And NFL thickness you will find in sometimes in astrocytoma or the corneal spots.
Sorry, sir, for interrupting. Can we look
NFL
to
thickness.
finish it up in next 30 seconds?
So inner layer defects is prominently we will see in particular in lamellar macular holes. You will find in the intact of the outer layers, and inner retinal disorganization is the OCT is actually defining disorganization of the inner retinal layers. That is called drill, which is prominently nowadays, which is the important biomarker of diagnosing the diabetic macular edema. So in that case, we're actually taking into account so many things in the inner retinal. They are actually where there or not. Suppose the inner retinal layers are disorganized in comparison to the normal, then the prognosis becomes grim. And inner retinal hyperreflectivity, again, sometimes we will see in acute, suppose a case of CRAO comes, whether it is acute or chronic. Suppose in acute cases, what happens because of the cloudy thickening of the inner retina, there will be thickened inner retina up to the OPL, outer plexiform layer. So there will be a membrane like a continuous membrane like structure you will find in the close to the outer plexiform layer. That is called middle limiting membrane. It's named as middle limiting membrane, which is a diagnostic of OCT diagnosis of acute CRAO. And sometimes in the spectrum of white dot syndrome, you will find so many things have come into, because these cases, ideally we are not able to pick it up or diagnose or define. Now the OCT is defining all this because of the depending on the which layer is affected. Now the things are coming to the picture, whether it is a paracentral acute middle maculopathy. This is the new disease entity which is coming. So many issues are coming based on the OCT. And inner retinal hyperreflectivity, again because of, suppose normal in hard exudates, if they're in the retina, they appear, if the more than, they are usually more than 50 micron hard exudates, pigments or inflammatory cells in the retina. And the lesser size nowadays, so we are defining hyperreflective foci. They are there in the, you will see particularly in the diabetic macular edema patients, because of the long-standing diabetic macular edema, you will see there will be some changes in the hyperreflective foci. They are less than 50 micron size, and they will respond to steroids. In that cases, may not be anti-VEGF, may not be effective. You have to combine with steroids, or you can go with steroid alone. So inner retinal hyperreflectivity, again, as I said earlier, hyperreflectivity because of any accumulation of fluid. So there will be cystic spaces which tells the hyperreflectivity in the retinal layers, or that will be seen in many cases like retinoschisis, RP with CME, so many.
Sorry,
And
sir, for
outer retinal
interrupting,
loss,
but
outer
we're
retinal loss
kind of
is important parameter become in so many disease entities, like particularly in diabetic macular edema, long-standing diabetic macular edema, or the vasculopathies, retinal vasculopathies, or in age-related changes, many. So outer retinal changes, like particularly we define or do we see or read this external membrane onwards, what are the changes, like whether any change in the external ELM, or the change in the ISO junction, or the cost, or RP, whatever, wherever the changes will be there. Suppose some changes are there, some disruption in the layers there, that means that one should not, even the prognosis becomes very bad. keep on injecting the anti-VEGFs may not be working. And here outer retinal changes, like for example tubulations will come, outer tubulations. Sometimes they mimic as cystic spaces, but they are actually, these are all outer retinal tubulations. They are all important biomarkers which come into play. They are called drawl, it is called disorganized outer retinal layers. So these tubulations are centrally hyperreflectivity and surrounded by a circular hyperreflective zone. So these are different from the cystic. They are uniformly there. You will find the hyperreflectivity, but here is central hypo surrounded by the hyperreflectivity. Importantly, one has to differentiate. Otherwise, you may be injecting the treating the patients with so many injections, they may not be responding. Subretinal hyperreflectivity. So this is because of
So we need to finish it
vitelliform
up.
deposits, maybe it will be hyperreflective, or fibrin in case of inflammatory diseases or the CSR, you will find fibrin subretinally, and the hemorrhages will look like this, very bright, homogeneous hyperreflective subretinally. These are all, and subretinal hyperreflectivity may be seen in CSR or neurosensory attachment, or the sensor neuro, this one, serous retinal attachment or neurosensory attachment, you will find like this. And RP books will be complex, you will find like particularly, suppose there's a series, so many types of PEDs are there. Actually, this is a PED where you will find homogeneously there will be hyporeflectivity, that is the serous PED. If it is heterogeneous or combining this one heterogeneous reflectivity you are finding here, this is more in favor of fibroscopic PED. And again here, very brightly homogeneously bright reflectivity subretinal you are finding, that is more in favor of hemorrhagic PED. So in doubtful situations, that will give a serous PED, maybe benign fibrovascular or hemorrhagic PED, which is more dangerous. We have to treat. So RP groups are more complex. You will sometimes, this is subtle changes you will find in the RP layer. There will be a splitting of the RP double layer sign, we call it as, that is the early neovascular biomarker, which OCT tells. So these are all the changes you will see in the retinal layers. Thank you very much. And especially I thank to Dr. Muralidhar, ST Muralidhar, who has shared his beautiful slides to me. Thank you, sir.